you've ever wanted to get unique point of view shots, especially in your car, then this video is for you. I was looking for the exact same thing, so when Neewer reached out with their suction cup mount, I was really excited to try it out. Could it actually be strong enough to hold up my mirrorless cameras even in a moving car? And how else can we use this to capture unique perspectives that our tripods simply can't? So let's see how good this Neewer 6-inch suction cup is for content creators. All right, so let's talk about the build quality of this suction cup. And here I'm thoroughly impressed, especially considering that this thing only cost $50. It's made of some sort of metal aluminum alloy that's pretty lightweight, but feels very durable. And all around the suction cup, you have different mounting points for 1/4-inch screws or 3/8 screws as well. They even have RE locating pins on the side, so you can really securely tighten any sort of attachment you need. And the suction cup itself is very rugged. It is really large, so you know it is very powerful with its 6-inch diameter. And so far, I've had no problems either attaching the magic arm to it directly or actually swapping out the mount for a ball head, which I'll talk about later on in this video. All right, so how strong is the actual suction cup mount? So technically it is rated to hold roughly 11 pounds when using it in a moving vehicle, but that's only if you're on a non-bumpy road and you're going under a certain speed limit, which I'll put on screen now. So as you can see in this footage, it's holding up perfectly fine. I actually tested this a few times the other day, and the current setup I have on the car is the Canon R6 Mark II with the 24-105 f4, which roughly adds up to 3.5, 4 pounds. And so this goes about half under the max limit, which is 11 pounds. So I'm feeling very safe with this, albeit it still makes me pretty anxious given that it is $3,000, $4,000 sitting on the hood of my car that could just go flying off at any moment. But if you're using it on a static surface like a wall, a window, or something like that, it can actually hold up to 111 pounds apparently, which is really strong. And so far I've been able to mount both the R6 Mark II and the Canon R5 Mark II, which actually adds up to closer to 7 pounds when I have it fully rigged out with the cage and the 28-70. So what comes with the suction cup? Well, of course you get the suction cup itself. It even comes with this little cover so you can keep that part clean. And that is something you want to do to actually keep the suction cup working as strongly as possible. And then you get some extra parts like this extra 1/4-inch screw adapter and a 3/8 screw adapter, just so you can attach different mounts to this. And of course it comes with its small, kind of dinky magic arm, which I'll talk about when we go into the things that are wrong with this kit. Okay, so how do we actually use this sucker? It's very, very simple. But a few things you want to know first. Number one, you want to make sure it's a smooth surface, and it's gonna be things like glass, metal, ceramic, or wood. And so the side of the car works, and you can also put on the glass here, the windows. I really like windows the most so far, just because they are perfectly smooth. And you want to make sure they're dust free, so carry a wipe. I like to wipe it down just really quick. I already wiped this down earlier, and so very simple to do. You're going to actually push up as hard as you can against the surface, and then simultaneously while you're doing that, just pump pushing this lever. And you'll see, well, maybe not in this shot, but I'll do a close-up. There's a white line on this lever. And you're just pumping this until that white line actually disappears from view. And in my view, it is perfectly done now. And then all that's left to do is to mount the camera. The magic arm really sucks. Spoiler alert, I'll get to that in this next shot. But now all you have to do is actually attach it to whatever mount you have, which I would prefer this ball mount. So much more secure and a lot easier to adjust the angle to whatever angle you need. When you're actually done, there's actually these two knobs at the end of the pump that you just simply squeeze that releases the suction, and that's it. The biggest qualm I have with the suction cup is actually this little piece right here. If I can get this thing to focus, it's the magic arm thing that they provide. It is not very good. Not only is it annoying to actually screw your camera onto this, it doesn't feel that secure. I have used this lever to try to tighten it, to lock it in place, and every time it just doesn't feel that secure. Granted, I did use it the first day and I didn't have a problem technically. It worked, nothing fell off, I didn't break my camera, but I just wouldn't feel safe using this anymore. So that's actually why I switched it out to the ball head mount, which I've been using this whole entire video when demonstrating this suction cup. But you can use any other mount. I actually just advise buying a different magic arm that you can simply screw on to the suction cup, since this has so many different mounting points, and you'll have a much better experience with this product. Another issue I have with this mount is that because there is no sort of shock resistance anywhere on the mount, the footage does come out pretty shaky, especially if you're using it for car footage like I am right now. As you've probably noticed, the camera's been wobbling. I can quite literally see it shaking pretty violently. I think using the mount without image stabilization works slightly better just because you're not constantly having to counteract those small jitters. But I'll do a comparison test now so you can sort of see the difference. And the last con or downside of this mount is that it definitely gets sketchy if you use a heavier setup. Say you have a proper cinema camera or you have a really big rig on your mirrorless camera, then I would really advise not using the single suction cup. There are car mounts that actually have multiple suction cups so that you have one, much stabler footage, and then two, you don't run the risk of possibly dropping the camera if one of the suction cups fails. Whereas in this case, because there's only one suction cup attached to this, if it fails, you're SOL and your camera is definitely going to hit the ground pretty hard. So what is the final verdict on this suction cup mount? Well, first off, it is really easy to actually just pick up and start using. It is very strong. I've had no issues with it whatsoever, even in a moving vehicle. Granted, I have been driving relatively safe. I'm not going over 50 miles per hour, and I'm not on any sort of bumpy off-roads. But I've also really enjoyed using it statically just to mount it onto the walls or certain windows around the building, just so I can get unique perspectives that I normally wouldn't be able to get with a tripod. And I definitely feel sketch using this for a normal mirrorless camera. But if you're using any sort of action camera or like the DJI Osmo Pocket, then I think this suction cup is more than enough and you're not gonna have to worry about anything so long as you properly use the suction cup and make sure it's locked on. And lastly, I highly recommend getting a different adapter than the provided magic arm that they give you, because that thing feels really cheap, isn't very secure, or at least is very difficult to secure well. And so I wouldn't trust it for my heavy mirrorless setup. But what do you think? Would you pick up this $50 suction cup from Neewer? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you do decide to, there will be an affiliate link as well. If you enjoy these sort of filmmaking gear reviews, I have a whole playlist you can check out here. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I appreciate every single one of you who do, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.